So I've burned through 1 tank of fuel since the last oil change. So we're going to flush the oil again because I'm still not happy with the colour of it. But I've been running the bike to heat up the oil so we can get ahead with the oil change. So I know this is pretty much an identical video to the last one that I did, but think of it as a part 2 at least, because the oil was sludge. 1 whole litre came out. Oh geez, that's tight. And I put 800 ml back in. Now I have only done 1 tank, so I'll be curious to see how full this container gets. This bike does chew up a lot of oil when you're riding it wide open all day. Now the colour of this oil is pretty much the same as what it was in the first place, and I attribute that to the cheap generic clutch pads that I ordered online. My plan today is to waste a bit of oil and try and flush out the system of all that crap. So we're sitting just under 700 ml, which is right on where I expected it to be. Only having travelled, I'll work out the exact kilometres later, but less than 400 kilometres. I'm pretty upset that the colour of this oil is still that murky grey, and I was expecting that because of course there's always oil in this half of the engine, you know, that cycles through. So I wanted to give it 1 tank and then flush it again. Now that's sitting on 750 ml and it's still dripping, so I'm really happy with that. So I had a few comments on the previous oil change video. Why didn't I change the oil filter? The OEM filters are designed to be changed every 15,000 kilometers, and this current filter's only done about 3,000. I changed it somewhere around the 5,000 kilometer mark. I think these filters are designed to be able to handle a little bit of crap. I don't really feel the need to change it yet. There's nothing chunky coming out in that oil, so the filter's doing its job, and you know what? I'm inclined to let it. Having said what I did about the oil filter, I'm still gonna give it a visual. Watch out for your little spring. Now, these caps have a rubber O-ring. Give it a visual, check it for splits and cracks. But this bike is, I haven't had it for 12 months yet, so maybe about 11 months. I don't expect that rubber's going to deteriorate in a year. So unless it's cracked, don't bother pulling it out. If you want to replace it every time you open it, that's your own decision. But I am in the category of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It looks just the same sort of disgusting grey colour in there. Now, giving that, ooh, hold that over the drip tray, mind you. I am not seeing anything in there that makes me think I should be replacing that just yet. There's no glistening flakes or anything in there, and the oil flowed straight out of it. So I'm just gonna wipe the residual out of there. I could probably be pouring fresh oil over that to try and flush it out, but again, I don't see the need to. That doesn't look clogged up at all. Like I say, these are designed to last 15,000 kilometers. So getting rid of it over the sake of, you know, one lot of dirty oil is not, it's not my problem. So, looking at that, the way that's drained, I didn't lose any oil like I thought. That's exactly the amount that I put in pretty much, which is what I was expecting. I've only got a little bit of oil left in there, but I've got a new bottle waiting to go, and of course a new funnel. I plan to just use this to basically fill it up and drain it out again, because I want to try and catch any more of that disgusting colour. Just looking in there, there's no floaties. So the plan here is pretty simple. I'm going to pour the last of this oil straight down in, and we're going to try and see what the colour is like when it comes out. So, I plan just to do that a couple times, just to try and get rid of anything that's sitting in the bottom there. So once that stops flowing, I'm going to tip that oil back into that container and flush it through again. And then I'll use the clean oil. Yeah, you can see a bit of filth sitting on top there. You know, see that grey mush? And I know it's a bit redundant taking some dirty oil and putting it back through. I wasn't sure how much was left in that bottle, but look at that. Probably could have just used that as the oil change. You see the filth sitting on top of the oil there. Don't mind if that's not finished dripping, that's what the tray's for. And you can see there's still some muck down the bottom there, so we'll wipe that out properly. Okay, so we can see that is already running clearer, which is what I wanted to see. But looking at the whole state of that, I'm pretty glad that I did that flush. I am going to let that finish dripping into the tray because that's the majority of it. Looking at the quality of that, see how cloudy that still is. So I'm really hoping that that's helped to flush the rest of that dirty oil out. So we'll compare that to what the fresh oil looks like, and that's all I've done there is tip it through the engine twice, and it's come out looking like that. So all things considered, I'd say I'm pretty happy with that. Clean. Fuck! There goes my oil change. I don't even know. I bought that not that long ago. Well, we need 800 ml of oil, and I reckon I can fit at least 300 ml in there. I can't believe I've done that. That is so annoying. Okay. That'll get me through today anyway. So we'll do 2 lots of 300 ml and then cycle the engine, and then another load of 200 ml. Okie dokie. So that's precarious. So we've got 300 ml. Just for comparison, you know, that's what the oil's supposed to look like. Tell you what, this funnel makes it easy. Now, of course, I'm going to run the bike, but first we're going to wipe up all the residual oil that we've spilt, because it's not just about not wanting oil to splash over the wheel, but every time you take something apart and put it back together, you want to check it for leaks. The main one, of course, being underneath here. Make sure that's nice and clear. So that's fine. That should do. So even with my broken measuring jug, I measured out 600 ml. So I'm going to go put in my last 200 ml, and we'll top that up and check the levels. Now, there is a bit of discourse between when you're checking the oil, do you screw the cap in or do you just sit it in there like that? Now, I was curious about this because before I did the oil change, I measured the dipstick topping up the oil just by sitting it on top like that. And this engine is only supposed to hold 800 mil at an oil change. When I drained it all out, I pulled out a litre, so 1000 mil. And then when I did the oil change, I measured it by screwing it all the way in and checking the dipstick. And when I did that, 800 mil went in, 800 mil came out. So for this engine at least, when you check your dipstick, wind it all the way in. I will confess that adding a little bit more oil, an extra 200 mils, probably not gonna hurt this engine, because if you treat it like I do at wide open throttle, it's gonna burn through the oil, but I would prefer to measure it properly. And we are full on the dipstick. Alrighty, so I'm going to give the engine one final wipe down. Looks good to me. The main thing I want to check is because I have not been replacing the washer on the drain bolt, because if it's not broken, don't fix it, and it's not leaking yet. The reason I'm happy to just reuse that washer every single time until it actually leaks is because, unlike a fully fed bike, it's just really simple to get into. So if I do notice it leaking, it's literally a 10-minute swap. Yeah, I believe if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's a Honda, so it'll be fine. But yeah, that's it. I'm really happy that I was able to flush out the last of that dirty grey oil. And of course, we'll keep an eye on it, because after only one tank, when I checked it after my first ride on that tank, I noticed it was already grey. So I made the decision to flush it after the one tank. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll keep topping up the levels as they drop. But I don't think that we'll need another full oil change for at least another 3,000 or 4,000 kilometres. But yeah, time will tell. If I see dirty oil, I'll change it. I don't mind doing extra oil changes on this bike. According to the book, this engine only wants an oil change every 3,000 kilometres, and I've already done 4 or 5 changes in, what are we sitting at, 8,700 kilometres. So yeah, you can't be too careful, not in my opinion. I'm blathering now. I think I'll run the bike and get that oil through a heat cycle. And it's a pretty terrible day, so I don't think I'm going for a ride today. I'll wait till the sun comes out again. Yeah, we'll see you next time.